Good morning, loves. Welcome to another episode of Moments of Mindfulness. I am your host, Emme, and today I have a message um, that I want to start this podcast off with. You know, I've been in some form of leadership for over 2 decades, and I've been a people watcher since I had eyes. And one of the things that strikes me is how often we all make the same mistakes, right? I was speaking with a friend and she was talking about her daughter. And I thought to myself, it's interesting how, when we're young, we make a lot of mistakes. And then we grow, we learn, we become better. And we immediately try to give that wisdom and that knowledge to the next generation. And I'll tell you something, it's not task that we do in vain, right? It impacts someone, but generally, unfortunately, not always the ones who you really want to impact the most. Sometimes people you don't know very well are the ones who get the most out of what you offer. And that's okay, right? Because for all of us out here sharing our wisdom and our experiences, our perspective, someone's message will resonate with those we love. It's inevitable. But here's the other thing that has to be talked about, and it isn't discussed enough. That unfortunately, we are people who feel that everything about us is different. We don't understand that the difference in us is a nuanced type thing. And so a lot of the generations and what we see going on now is a clamoring for attention, to be heard. People don't know what should or should not be shared, what should or should not be said, what should or should not be done. And we see a lot of that now. And the majority of what most people are looking for now, and it's probably always been that way on some level, is what they really got to go inside and give to themselves. And so today's podcast is about what you owe yourself. And I want you to ask yourself that question, like, what do I owe me? A lot of times we want other people to see our perspective, see our ways, see our viewpoint, understand our background. We want people to validate our existence, to witness it. And we want to know that it's being witnessed and beheld as some glorious thing. The problem is, my loves, is that you don't, even if no one else in this world ever does that, everything about your life is glorious and it is being beheld and witnessed and celebrated. When you're spiritually unaware, you look for that in other people and you find yourself living a life full of disappointment because, what person has the time to worship you? We don't like to say that out loud. Oh, I'm not trying to be worshiped. I just want to be loved, right? But your idea of love is, to some degree, worship. It took me a long time to see that about myself. And even after seeing it, I didn't know what to do with it. And that's what made me want to do today's episode. All right. So going back to my friend, I have a son who's grown, and I knew exactly where she was coming from. It's like, what good is knowledge if once you have it, nobody pays attention to you? If the people you love won't trust you to impart it, what good is knowledge? But it's not that people don't listen to us when we're giving them knowledge. Sometimes it's the way we give it to them, right? So whatever your experience is, whatever my experience has been, Those things were specific to us. Even if you have seen it repeated with a lot of other people, we have to leave room for the nuance. Good example, and I shared this with the same friend. When I first started my spiritual journey, my son witnessed it all. And eventually, he came on board and he wanted to start learning. Now, where he jumped in at, that ain't where I wanted him to jump in at. As a mother, I was just like, no, hey, do this and maybe do a little bit of that and then, do a little bit of that. But no, he had to go his own direction. By my experience, it was kind of ass backwards. But it got him exactly where he was meant to be. And there were a lot of things on this journey. Don't get me wrong. I was like, you can't do that, or that's not how it's supposed to be done. Very definitive. And I'm not saying that there are not some hard truths. There are a lot of hard truths. But sometimes as parents, as leaders, as people who want to share our story, that's what we do. We try to make everything a hard truth just because it was true for us at that time. It's things that happened to me before that when I revisited it, it didn't happen like that again. A good example, being an entrepreneur, my first 2 attempts were failures. I mean, terrible. It was terrible. My first 2 attempts. Then I had some successes, and then I had more failure, and then I had more successes. My journey as an event planner was chaotic. That's the best word I could use for it. Completely overwhelming. I did not do well at first, and then I did really well, and then I found myself somewhere middle of the road, and then I did really well again. Imagine stopping at that place in your experience where you didn't do well, and then you began to teach what can't be done as a law, when really it's just what you're not meant to do. And see, all of these things falls under that guise of owing yourself mindfulness. A lot of us, as soon as we hear a thing, learn a thing, sense a thing, feel a thing, we think that we ought to share a thing. But everything that we feel, sense, see, hear, learn, smell, taste is not for everybody else. It's always for you first. That's why you're having the experience. You're seeing the thing, you're smelling the thing, tasting the thing, feeling the thing. And you owe yourself a full experience with whatever the thing is that presents itself. And we don't get that when we're in a hurry to make sure everybody else sees and knows everything that's going on with us. With my friend and her daughter, it was a small matter. Like most women, you care about who your daughter dates because you know the danger, right? You know the danger. I felt like a hypocrite trying to explain to her at that time something that I still had not completely worked out in my own life. Not to share paranoia, limitations, and all of that out of fear. Not to promote fear. Back then, a movie came out with Will Smith and his son. And in the movie, he told his son, I can't remember the name of the movie, guys, but he told his son that, danger is real, but fear is basically a choice. Some things are dangerous, sure. But giving someone fear, giving someone pain and limitations and ugliness and, really pushing out the gunk of life. I was a regular person once upon on a time. I mean, I'm still a regular person in my own mind. But I used to read the magazines and sometimes be all into celebrity business and that kind of thing because that's just what happens. But then the most interesting thing happened for me. I became something of a celebrity in other people's lives. And as a regular person who was reading these magazines and blah, 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 there was a lot of things I had a hard time believing. But if you hear it often enough, you're like, surely people wouldn't lie. You know, why would these people have these people in their business? I had a perspective because I had only one side of the story. One thing you owe yourself is enough time to gain multiple vantage points in life. Believe you me, that would serve you well. And so then I remember, and this is wild, but this actually happened to me. The day came where one of my sisters um, in the Eastern Star contacted me out the blue. I had been inactive by this time years, and she knew that I was in rain. I don't know. I guess she'd been keeping up with me, and I think that's beautiful, by the way. But she said, "Listen, it's somebody that has called the sheriff's office, the Monroe PD, all of that, and accused you of trafficking children. And they sent the police to several different storage facilities. All of this is happening beneath my awareness, by the way. And so by the time she told me about it, this had been a couple of weeks. The person had even called the FBI. Now, what's wonderful is I live my life so public and so open. And one thing, you can almost always know where to find me. And the other thing is you will never see me with a bunch of kids. Never. You just never will. And it was just a lie, period. But it was interesting that that person chose to keep promoting that story. And at that time, I was doing a segment for Fox, Moments of Mindfulness. It was on TV. And they called the television station, trying to do everything they could to get me kicked off with just ridiculousness. And it was that moment that I thought to myself, how many lies have I believed about celebrities? How many times have I taken a story I read or heard like fact and carried it on beyond me? Now, of course, I would have been young at the time, but that's no excuse. But being in a position where you get multiple vantage points help you to have some perspective. Perspective is something everybody owes themselves. Sometimes before we start to clamor, you have to ask yourself, what am I looking for? You owe yourself a moment to understand what's motivating your actions, what's motivating your words. What is it that has kicked up inside of you, and what space is that coming from? Are people around you and your social media like a drug to try to fuel an empty love tank? Because if it is, then you owe yourself enough self-love and self-honoring so that you don't have to drain everybody around you. And people can say what they want to say. You're not stupid. You know if you're a drain to everybody around you. You can't think one thought by yourself. You can't go one place by yourself. You can't make one decision by yourself. You're needy. That means that you owe yourself some strength. And this is the thing. I have a friend who hate to make mistakes. Hell, who want to make mistakes, right? None of us. But it's a part of life. And it is an uncompromising part of life. Everybody will make mistakes throughout the course of their lives. Now, all of them will vary in severity. Okay, every mistake ain't created equal. Calling somebody the wrong name, that you see on the bus, like, that's one thing. Calling somebody the wrong name, when you're getting ready to get married, I don't know. That's something different. But yeah, mistakes there's levels to it, but we all make them. And we all make them at various ranges of severity throughout life. But this person is so afraid of making mistakes. When I started talking to this person over time, I realized that this person don't like to be corrected. And when you make a mistake out loud, somebody is going to correct you. And so because you don't like to be corrected, you have cut yourself off from having any power in your life. You don't know how to get up. You don't know how to try. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that. You owe yourself a fuller life. You owe it to yourself to see what kind of life you can make for yourself. Why wouldn't you want to be brilliant if you could be brilliant? A person say, well, I don't see that in my future because I struggled in school. I did this, I did that. Well, here's the reality, right? Brilliance is something that you can grow, and it has very little to do with a very set education system. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people who have really high IQs and they are dull as a tool that's been sitting up and rusted. There are others who didn't do well in school and they're as brilliant as the sun. And then there are people who are super intelligent and brilliant. And there are people who are not as intelligent and also dull. Variety is the spice of life, and it's for sure too nuanced. And we'll use that word quite a few times because I want you guys to remember. It's too nuanced to go into stereotypes. And that's another thing. You owe yourself to see beyond stereotypes, whether it's with you or with others. If you want a full life experience, you have to take life and be in each moment. Now means presently. And presently means that you must bring your awareness to this moment. Presently, are you powerful only with your awareness in the now, in this moment, and you owe yourself that. See, it's a lot of things that we think other people can do for us. They can't. They can't. And this is one of the things that me and my friend, because ultimately this was the end of the conversation, and it was a reckoning for us both. We both had to come to the conclusion that, you know what, because she likes to debate, I like to debate, and we were talking about it, not necessarily really debating, but throwing our viewpoints. And what we came to the conclusion is that we feel that our pain or our lessons or our suffering has meaning if we can get someone else to avoid the same pain, the same suffering, yada, yada. How silly is that? So all my pain, all my suffering was for other people, None of it was because I made a bad decision. None of it was to teach me and to help me make a difference in my own life. None of it. Oh, my loves, universe don't work like that. The universe does not work in such a fashion. Let me tell you something. So when we got ready to do the TV show, very interesting tidbit from my history, right? So I had gotten this shop, a metaphysical shop in West Monroe. Hadn't been there long. And one day I was at work and this guy popped in and he said, hey, he was selling advertisements, television advertisements, and he was trying to basically sell me a commercial. And so he was telling me all about what he do and talking about the packages or whatever, because there was a barber shop right next door, and he usually goes there to get his hair cut. And so I wasn't really interested in no television commercial, right? I really wasn't, but I was listening and trying to be real nice about it. But in my mind, I was like, man, I can't afford no TV commercial. I just got here. I ain't even doing, you know what I mean? Because in my mind, I had hyped it up to be some big thing, like getting a commercial. But in the course of us talking, he stopped mid-sentence and said, you know what, you'd be good on TV. And I was thinking, who? Who, me? You talking about me, country me? No, no. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm like, okay, he overselling it, right? But then he said, there's this show, um, and I want to see if they'll interview you. Would you be interested in being interviewed on TV? And I'm like, sure. But I wasn't sure. I was just saying that. Um, and that's what I thought. But really, my oversoul was speaking through me because my fears would have paralyzed me and said, no, not me, I can't, and all that. Long story short, I ended up on the show, got interviewed, talked about my book, talked about my business, talked about all of that. The lady had a good time. She said, I want to have you back. I was like, oh, okay, you know. And so when I was getting ready to leave, a couple of people were like, are you the new anchor? I was like, is who, me? That worked there, right? They thought that I had been hired. And they literally were standing at the door where I go out waiting on me because they thought I was the new hire. They was ready to introduce themselves. And I'm like, no, I just had an interview. It's like, oh, okay. A different time I was there and we were doing an interview, the second one. And she said, girl, you'll have my job after a while, right? And she laughed about it. And I was like, child, in my mind. And 3 or 4 weeks after that second interview aired, he came to me and he said, how would you like to have your own television show on Fox? It's like, so don't be playing with me. I can't afford that, first of all, but how are we going to do that? Well, okay, but I had a lot of questions. But by that time, I was spiritually aware enough to understand that there was nobody who could tell me, yeah, do it, or no, don't do it. Because this was a life choice for myself. And I looked at, what do you owe yourself? And I owe myself every chance and every opportunity and every beautiful experience. I have always wanted to be on television. Some part of me has always wanted to do it. So now all of a sudden, what? You're going to say no? Hell no. So I said yes. And I went home and he said he's going to give me a proposal together. And we were talking a week. And I remember coming home from work that day and looking in the mirror and being very displeased. Suddenly, I had in my mind to look at myself the way other people would see me. And most of my battle scars I wore proudly because it was a remembrance of all the things that I've been through. Suddenly now, though, I had to think about everything. So I got my teeth done. I had a spa day, got the soak and cucumbers and the whole thing with my skin. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but I just wanted to be the best possible version of myself. I started a detox. I was doing the whole thing. Bought me a DB method squat machine that I didn't use but a few times. But all of a sudden I needed to be serious because I was trying to earn what was already given to me after I had already gotten it, right? Because in my mind, there was this idea, and I think many of you will find yourself here, that I wasn't enough as I stood. How I could ignore the fact that as I stood was how the offer was made to me. They didn't care about nothing that I suddenly cared about. And there was this drive that by the first episode of Moments of Mindfulness, I would be the best possible version of myself. And to be honest with you, the only thing that was different by the first episode of Moments of Mindfulness was the fact that I had these beautiful crowns and my teeth were glowing white, right? And everything else was absolutely the same. Because there really was no need to change anything, not even my smile, had I not wanted to. Sometimes what needs changing is the perspective, the mentality, not the things around you. And so, we sometimes get real busy trying to give ourselves a mission. We think it's like a video game, like a adventure video game or some epic saga like on television. And we got to find reason in everything that has happened. You are your first reason. You got to acknowledge that and allow that to be a reality you don't run from and that you don't minimize. You're not here to make sure that everybody else has a good life at the expense of your own great life. No. You share your goodness by building it up inside of you and then giving it to other people. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't share our stories of survival and pain and those kind of things, right? But sharing from the perspective of feeding on sympathy, trying to coerce people into feeling sorry for you, loving you and supporting you and doing, people use their pains and their history as a manipulative tool. I've done it. I'm sure you have too. It's common, in fact. They use their struggles as an excuse to quit. No, get your ass up and struggle on, sir, ma'am, like everybody else, until it's no longer a struggle because no part of you is any longer resisting the aspects of life. No one owes you a second, third, fourth, or fifth chance, nor an ear. That's not something that's owed to you from anybody other than you. You give yourself the chances. You give yourself the space. You give yourself the ear. You give yourself the mindfulness. You make space for your own healing. And here's the thing, nobody owes it to you, but you'll find it every which way you turn when you become it for yourself. I see a lot of people who, especially now with social media being what it is, they will do anything to be liked or loved. I mean, absolutely anything. They have absolutely zero self-respect. They'll say anything, present themselves any kind of way. It's times where especially like now in the political arena, I'll listen to certain people talking and hear them contradict themselves 4 or 5 times over. They never catch it, never bat an eye, because they're saying whatever they think they need to say to get whatever it is they're after, followers, likes, to engage chaos, because they are validated in their mind. They're validated by their impact on others. Without others, what is this life even about, right? Not understanding that it got to start with you, though. People are the point. but you're a person. I'm a person. I'm the point too. And so are you. When you hear people are the point, before you look outside, because you'll hear that a lot if you follow me, but before you look outside of yourself, you got to look inside. It's like people are the point. Oh, okay. I'm a person. I'm the point. I'm the first point. Loves, one thing that, and I close this. This is just a beautiful way to start your morning, I hope. One thing that I want you to know is that it's not wrong to desire connection, support, love, adoration. Nothing is wrong with that until you forget that nothing that you find out there is going to give you really that satisfaction if you are not giving these things to yourself. And if you are not aligning in a way that makes you compatible for it. We are in a mental health crisis right now. That ain't what the world call it. They just say, they got words for everything. Neurodivergent, narcissistic, codependent, and on and on. Everybody's internet psychologist diagnosing everybody else and themselves. And we hold so strong to our titles. And why would we do that? Tiger Woods came out and said he was Kablasian or something like that. I remember when he did it. And I was thinking to myself, like, honestly, I get it. Everybody want to be known for exactly what they are. But before you are a body, you are an energy. And that energy is stronger and older than the meat suit it is given life to, right? And sometimes I think that the reason why we're so adamant about identity is because we've lost connection with our own frequency. Because I'm going to tell you what I know as a person who has been on my spiritual journey for a decade, this part of it, and been in leadership over 20 years, that when you start to know yourself as a frequency, as an energy, it defies words. There are no words that can capture everything that you are. And that when you hit that awareness, that level of awareness, you realize you are many things at many different times in your life. There is no word that can incorporate everything that you are at all times, because at all times you are not always the same thing. You are not always in the same position. You are not always of the same mindset or mentality. There are changes that are happening within you moment by moment. Your energy is in an energetic relationship with the universe as a whole and every functioning part, meaning all the people around you. Your environment shifts your frequency. Everything around you is impactful, and so are you. And so, as a frequency, the divisions become, as an energy, the divisions become less important. And you understand that you owe yourself expression and experience. Express the beauty of your soul. It ain't something you got to talk about all the time and try to make other people acknowledge. It's okay not to bleed everywhere you go. It's okay not to need people to validate your existence. They are nothing different than you. They're a person too. And if in every connection you have, you are the person who needs, you got to ask yourself if you don't deserve to be more than that. There are times, y'all, I get so tired of people needing me. I be thinking, oh, I wish I could, where is somebody if I need them? And every time my soul will remind me what it's like to be needy. It's like, so you would rather borrow than to lend? No, I'll keep where I stay where I'm at. Have to be reminded that the way I live is beyond my wildest dreams. I have done it. And I maintained it for a very, very long time. And it's shifted and changed nature, right? And at that same time, I understand that it's really about self-love. The experience happened because I came into a place where my love for myself was tangible and real. And it was so real that it gave rise to my favorite part, is self-honor. So I built Magical Mystic and Divinity Academy and everything that I have built on the principle of making self-honoring decisions. It honored me to do moments of mindfulness. I didn't know what to call it. Hadn't even thought about that. They came to me a week before and they said, we need a name for the show. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Right? I didn't say all the ums out loud. Inside of me, I was in a full-fledged panic attack. I'm like, I don't know. How do I know what to name a show? But out of my mouth came moments of mindfulness. And I played with it with my friends, and they was like, yeah, that's it. And look at us now, 6 years later, here on a podcast, Moments of Mindfulness. Sometimes you gotta leave room for your soul. Out of all the things you owe yourself, you gotta leave room for your soul to surprise you. And I put all the emotion and feeling and love and expansion I can in that sentence. You deserve surprises, pleasant surprises. And you are full of things that will surprise you. If you stop stopping yourself and you start engaging in life. The Magical Mystic community and the Divinity Academy community, the spiritual community as a whole, has been very gracious to me. And so I graciously say this to you, that I approached this whole thing from a space of, yay, I can't believe I get to do this. Appreciation, joy, excitement, adventure. And it has been all of those things and more. Don't be one of those people who rob yourself and always blame it on other people. It's not easy for anyone. You get up and you find yourself something to do. Your soul needs activity. Find yourself something to engage with that makes you feel proud of yourself. If everybody else feels proud of you, okay, for right now. Because once you have made yourself proud, I swear to you one thing, and you can always know where to find me if this turns out to be a lie. No sooner than you have the moments that you're proud of yourself, you'll look around and you'll see other people who feel the same way about you, whether they use the word proud of you or not, you will know they are. Because they trust you, they hold you in high regard, they speak your name in kindness in rooms you'll never visit. They become mirrors of the love you have for yourself. They'll love you just like you love you. And ultimately, the consideration and the witnessing and all the other things that you desire, you only really get it once you give it to yourself. And then you can attract it from others. Okay? So anyway, what do you owe yourself? Everything is really the answer. Everything. I owe myself everything. I believe that. And I believe it's the same for you. But specifically, you owe yourself room to have a real, true experience. And that means slowing down, processing some of what's there. We ain't gonna call that shadow work. Y'all ain't gonna get me to do it today. But I mean, you know, okay? So guys, if you are not following me on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and all the places, I am at Magical Mystic on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and at MRain11 on YouTube, and at MRain Official on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, I'm everywhere. I am all over the place, y'all. Easy to find, and I would love to hear from you. If you are interested in having some spiritual conversations, join the Magical Mystic community. We have a nice, loving, supportive group on Facebook, and this group is dynamic. It's a dynamic group of people, and you will feel right at home. So with that being said, I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.